called to order at 6:30 p.m. This is the regular monthly board meeting being held on January 17th, 2024. We have a quorum with all members present. Please join me in a moment of silence to observe as you feel appropriate. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag led by 6th grader Jayla Thornton from Wright Junior High School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the Texas pledge. I pledge allegiance to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one nation, under God, one indivisible.
Good job. Dr. Nivens, are there any recognitions or awards?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, there are, and I'll turn over to Ms. Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Lamar CISD Board of Trustees, our community, and those in attendance tonight. It's a new year, but the tradition of excellence remains the same. And this evening, we have a few recognitions that represent the tradition of excellence right here within our schools. After more than 75 years in existence, we believe that the brightest, most dedicated employees work right here in Lamar CISD. And right before the winter break and in the spirit of cheer, we hosted about 500 employees for our annual Howdy Holidays district staff party, where all employees were invited to relax with an evening out with food, fun, and games. And the evening would not have been possible without the support of our generous sponsors. And we want to take a moment to thank our title sponsor, PBK, and our event sponsors, Post Oak Municipal Advisors, Gulf Coast Educators Federal Credit Union, and Sterling for making the event a tremendous success. Now, in January, we celebrate School Board Recognition Month across the state of Texas, and we want to take this time to highlight the crucial role that all 7 of our elected trustees play right here in Lamar CISD in our 48 schools, 15 municipalities, and the community at large. School board members are the largest group of publicly elected officials in Texas, and school board members exemplify local citizen control and decision-making in education. They volunteer an immeasurable amount of time and energy to ensure that our schools provide the best possible education for every student and a positive workplace for faculty and staff. Every year, we have a theme to celebrate our Board of Trustees, and this year's theme is Locally Elected, Community Connected, which emphasizes the camaraderie among our trustees, families, staff, and partners in education. Additionally, our team has incorporated a train into design element, which pays homage to our community's deep history and the daily decisions that you navigate. Get it? Trustees, at your seats this evening, our campuses have left you several tokens of appreciation from the students, staff, and families of our school community. You should also notice a black gift box, and I invite you to open that now. Inside the box, Lamar CISD has presented you with a few keepsakes that represent what you all mean to us. First, you'll see a conductor's hat. That's because you keep us moving forward, and we thank you daily for your leadership and guidance throughout the district. I love it. We also, you'll see a stopwatch, and this represents the extraordinary amount of time that you dedicate to enhancing our students' education, social emotional learning, and character development, and the train whistle. It's a reminder that you are constantly communicating the progress of Lamar CISD, and so we thank you for sharing all the information and wonderful things that happen on our campuses and in our classrooms. Now sit back and please enjoy a special video message.
January is School Board Recognition Month. This year, we'd like to express our appreciation to this locally elected, community-connected group of leaders for the work they do to keep Lamar CISD on track to success. The proud tradition of our slice of Fort Bend County is tied to the railroad. Fittingly, our Board of Trustees acts as a powerful locomotive, boldly propelling the district toward a bright future. Like the tracks sprawling throughout the district's 15 municipalities and 385 square miles, Our trustees are firmly rooted in the community and serve as the connection between the community and the classroom. These 7 individuals graciously volunteer their time to ensure your voices are heard and the needs of more than 44,000 students and 6,000 employees are met. Our trustees keep us moving freely around obstacles, and their guidance provides our students with the best education experience possible. We are grateful they have volunteered to lead the Lamar CISD train. Thank you for your tireless dedication to our students, staff, and families.
Thank you, President Ronsell. Thank you, Vice President Lambert.
Thank you, Secretary Danziger.
Thank you, Trustee Monks. Thank you, Trustee Hoxel.
Thank you, Trustee Hubenak.
Thank you, Trustee Welch.
To President Bronzell and my trustees, first off, from Roosevelt Nivens, let me say thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you put in. I see all the work you put in behind the scenes. I hear the conversations, the time you take away from your families, the homework, the questions, the driving around the community to make sure that we're making the right decisions and you're voting on the right things. We see all those things. You are volunteers, and I have no idea what other volunteer position is as intense as yours. You take a lot of heat, you have a lot of feedback. Some you ask for, some you don't. Some feedback is nice, some is not. And you still show up every single day for the young people and the staff of the Lamar CISD. Again, let me say thank you so much from my heart, because you don't have to do this work. But also, I need you to hear this last thing. The work you're doing now is going to last Lamar CISD for the unforeseen future. There are kids that aren't even born yet that's going to be impacted from the work you're doing right now. Thank you so much for accepting that challenge and accepting the purpose.
Amazing video production. Additionally, while we have included a resolution on the consent agenda, we would like to thank Fort Bend County Judge K.P. George, City of Fulshire, City of Katy, City of Sugar Land, City of Weston Lakes, Harris County Precinct 1 Riley Ellis, and Fort Bend County Precinct 4 Commissioner Dexter McCoy, who is here in person with us this evening to celebrate, for declaring a proclamation in their respective areas. At this time, I'm going to invite Commissioner McCoy to the mic to read his proclamation.
Good evening, President Bronzell, Dr. Nivens, board members. It's an honor to be able to join you here tonight. Often what you do every day is thankless. You take a lot of heat for the decisions you make and don't always get the credit for the benefits that you've afforded our great community. So on behalf of Fort Bend County, on behalf of all of the residents here in our community, as your partner, as County Commissioner, I just want to say thank you. I have a proclamation here to read. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I know how these things go, but I will add this note too. I'm a former public school district employee. I know what it's like to be impacted by the great decisions that you make every day here in this room. And on behalf of the employees here, thank you for your dedication to serving our community. So whereas local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district. And whereas local school board members dedicate their lives to molding an education system that meets the needs of both today's and tomorrow's students, now therefore I, Dexter L. McCoy, County Commissioner of Fort Bend County Precinct 4, do hereby recognize this School Board Recognition Month on this 16th day of January 2024. Thank you. Will I present this to somebody? All right. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Commissioner McCoy. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. Come on, Commissioner McCoy.
Yes, absolutely. Great to see you.
Appreciate it, sir.
Trustees, as you take this seat, I just wanted to say again that we think it's important to pause and acknowledge you in the month of January. It's important to acknowledge your work, all that you have done, and all that you will continue to do. So I would like to invite everyone who's present today to join me in a round of applause in appreciating the Lamar CISD Board of Trustees. Thank you, Dr. Nivens. This concludes our recognitions and announcements.
Yeah, if everybody, if we want to take just a minute, we're going to move all this stuff. Okay. Oh, that's great. That video was, I'm sorry, I almost cried. It was wonderful. Dr. Nivens, are there any introductions?
Yes, Madam President, we do have a few. I'll tell Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Dr. Nivens. Good evening, Board of Trustees. Tonight, I am proud to introduce the new Executive Director of Athletics for LCISD, Mr. Devin Gabbard. Mr. Gabbard was born in California and moved to Houston as a young child. He's a proud graduate of Texas University, where he received his bachelor's and master's degree in kinesiology. Mr. Gabbard recently served as the Assistant Director of Athletics here in LCISD. Mr. Gabbard has a total of 27 years of experience in the field of education. 21 of those years were in teaching and coaching in both public education and the university level combined. And 6 of the last years have been as the athletic director here in Lamar CISD. Unfortunately, his wife Alicia and his daughter Mandy are unable to attend tonight because they are supporting their daughter in the LCISD Junior High School Basketball City Finals. And his older daughter is also away in college. However, joining him tonight is his daughter, Riley. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Devin Gabbard, the new Executive Director of Athletics for LCI.
Thank you. Yes, very much so. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That is all the introductions for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now have board reports. Trustees, if you can, please keep your reports to 1 to 2 minutes. Go ahead.
You know me.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I do want to say thank you to everyone who participated and brought all these posters and signs and goodies. Been doing this a long time, and it always ceases to amaze me how everyone turns out to make us feel so special. And we don't do it for the gifts, we do it for the kids, and that's the main thing to thank you for this month. We do enjoy it. Also, last Friday night, there were a couple other board members and I, we were able to catch Mary Poppins at Lamar High School. And I just want to say, I've been watching different musicals and plays at all the high schools, especially at Lamar Consolidated High School. They have really turned a corner. Those kids are so talented, and not just the ones on the stage, the lighting, the sound, the directing, all of it, and I'm just so proud of them, and it just makes my heart big to see how much effort they put in for such an amazing performance, and I hope other people got to see it too. Then last week too was the Taste of Fort Bend for Lunches of Love, and I just want to do a shout out because the people there opened their pocketbooks. The live auction items went for over $100,000, and that is lunches for our kiddos. Over Christmas, they said they made 1,400 lunches a day. And now lunches cost about $1.25 per child. So I just want to thank everything Lunches of Love does, but also the community that came out and were so supportive of this organization, but also of our kids, because that's who benefits from it. So.
Yes, I want to be able to speak on behalf of the SHAC committee. So as the trustee gets to represent ourselves in the SHAC, we are working with the Cody Stevens Foundation, and Cody Stevens was a high school senior that was getting ready to go off to school, play football at Tarleton, and he passed away from sudden cardiac arrest. And so we were working with them. Our district has been, I'm super proud of it, because through working with this Cody Stevens Foundation, we were going to be able to get 2 AEVs per color track that will be on site at athletic events and all that. Also, through the Cody Stevens Foundation, we will be offering, well, so the House bill, I believe it was 76. That on the UIL form for physicals allows the verbiage to say that as a parent, I can check for my son that I want him to get an ECG. So through this, working with them, we're going to be able to offer that service to all of our students going through UIL physicals, from band to football, all athletics. Anyone that needs a physical can get this. And so there'll be a $10 fee for for a cardiologist to read it, but through grant funds and all that stuff that the community has supported as well, if somebody can't pay that fee, then that will be taken care of as well. So just the fact that we had the opportunity as a district to be able to provide that, so that we don't have to see another student have to wait for something that could be preventable or something that could be treated and all that. So and that, yeah, was able to see the show at Lamar Consolidated. I believe there's something at Culture coming up tomorrow, right? Mama Mia, or is that? So that's tomorrow. So the theater and the choir, and they had at Lamar, they had the Phillies dancing. So I'm really proud of our fine arts and the work that's going there, the talent that our students have, that we're able to showcase. So for everyone watching this tomorrow, because this will be shown tomorrow, I guess, go out and support our students in the fine arts and all that.
Yes, Madam President, really briefly, it's great to see everyone back in the break. This is our first really meeting after the break. What I do want to do is just remind us of, we all had an opportunity to spend time with our families, really have a good time over the break, but I also want to remind us that we had a few family members, a few staff members have family members pass away over the break. And so I just want to make sure we continue to remember them in our prayers, because, now the holidays may not be so happy for them in the future, because now it's marked as, death of a loved one. And so as we come back and we're rejuvenated and we're happy and we are, we're rejuvenated, let's make sure we pay attention to one another. We have some staff members who have come back who are hurt emotionally, and so we want to make sure that we take care of them, right? Because we're all doing the same together. As you've heard me say, we're doing life together, and so we're not just co-workers, but we're teammates and family members. And so if one hurts, we all want to make sure we circle around them, lock elbows, and support them. And so let's just make sure we pay attention to one another. And it's not through the day-to-day grind, but we pay attention to each other and help one another out. So that's it for me.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, are there any public comments?
No public comments. We do have public participation later.
Okay. At this time, we will take action on the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like to pull?
Can we pull item E? Item E? B? E. E. So considering district-wide staff development services and materials that are supplemental. My question is just that we get, oh, sorry.
We'll come back to that. Okay. Okay, so, let's see here. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the current consent agenda with the exception of item 8E?
Timothy.
Mr. Welch makes the motion. Can I have a second? Okay. Second by Mr. Lambert, and, let's see, any discussion? No. Now I call for the vote. Everyone in favor, say aye. Anyone against? No. And the motion passes. Let's see, so now we just have to discuss item E. Oh wait, so now we need a motion for item 8E. To be approved.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. I have a second. Okay. Now we can discuss it. Sorry.
So it's supplemental materials for the district, and what we get in the board book is just a list of who we're using. Could you explain the submission process and how we figure that out?
You have a teammates come to the microphone. So your exact question was the submission?
The submission process, yeah, it says, evaluation of criteria specific to quality and extent to which the respondents meet Lamar CISD. So I'm just curious.
This procurement is similar to others that we do as far as process. We have requirements to publish a document that outlines the criteria that we're looking for, and also a rubric telling how we're going to score the proposals that are received. And it's, like I said, it's a similar process for all of our different procurements. Robert is here to go into a little more detail. And this one is supplemental, so we are adding vendors to a current list.
Good evening. Yes, we will actually put out a document that outlines what the district needs are as far as staff development. The vendors will send in their submission. We have a committee that will come together to actually evaluate all the submissions and actually vote on that using that criteria. If it meets the criteria that we have provided them, then we will go ahead and put them on their list. That's why you only see the list of those that we do have approved.
Can I ask, when you all consider what your staff development is going to be, how do you all determine what you're looking for?
It usually comes from the campuses in different departments.
Do teachers ever get to suggest staff development, tell them what they feel like they need? Or
Yes, yes. They may have gone to conferences and think we need this will be beneficial for the district. So we will actually put out a questionnaire and ask them, we're going out to bid. Do you have any companies that you would like to be able to provide that service for the district?
With this list, there's 10-ish or so. Will these be available to all of our campuses to have access, or is this like, one specific campus requested this is for them, the contract is for a specific use, or it's
No, for all
district-wide?
campuses, district-wide, yes.
Okay. I was looking at one of the websites on here, and there wasn't much information about the company itself, or there's not much substance, so it kind of just do a little check of like, what do they do? It's very limited and there's not even a bio of who is doing this stuff. So I assume the committees come together. Do they do a presentation, or do they submit just
They will submit. Usually, people on the committee know about these companies. They may have a little information there, but they know about these companies and what services they provide. They may have heard from other districts as well.
Just to add to that, each vendor submits a packet. And so it's a binder full of information that we review in that review process. So we'll go out to their website and look, but the information we're evaluating is what they've submitted in response to that request for proposal. And so, some of the websites are detailed and in depth, and some of them are not, but every binder is considered incomplete.
Are these also used by different campuses and during the summer when you have staff development? So if a campus knows they have a need, they have a vendor list to look for, but plus when you're developing what the teachers are going to do over the summer to take hours, you use the same vendor list, correct?
That's correct. So we cannot do a contract for professional learning either at the campus level or at the district level if they're not an approved vendor. And so as Robert mentioned, this is a supplemental list of vendors. We have a big list of vendors and we add to them periodically, and campuses and district level teams can only contract the vendor if they're on that list. But anybody that wants to provide brush with them goes back to that list.
Do we typically do the contracts for 1 year?
We do the contract for an event.
Okay.
And sometimes it might be 2 or 3 days worth of PD or professional learning, but each professional learning opportunity is handled with a separate contract. I should just add too, just because they're on the list doesn't mean we're contracting with them. Does that make sense too? Like, they're available, and if they meet a need, then we can contract with them, but just because they're on the list doesn't mean we are necessarily going to contract with them for this academic year for any professional learning.
Yes. Okay, we already have a motion and a second, so all in favor of approving, say aye. Any against? Okay, motion passes. So we will now have reports and presentations on future action items.
Yes, Madam President, we have Mr. Buchanan and Ms. Goldham coming to talk about item 9A.
Thank you, Dr. Nivens, Madam President, and Board of Trustees. So during last month's board meeting, during your board workshop actually, trustees revisited the decision regarding how to zone to open our new high school and our secondary complex. The board approved moving forward with an option A, which is a neighborhood approach. It means that we are going to rezone by neighborhoods. Going with option A means that elementary school attendance zones will have zero impact on secondary attendance zones. So with Tomas High School opening in August of 2025, we need to rezone some secondary campuses to create the population of students who will attend this high school, the middle school, and the junior high school. And so trustees, you have established some rezoning criteria. We use these to guide zoning decisions. They were established by the board and they're considered as much as possible when developing new attendance zones. Just a brief summary, attendance zones are carefully drawn to optimize school facility use while balancing enrollment with capacity. Overcrowding is addressed in neighborhoods. Schools are tried to keep intact as much as possible. Safe traffic patterns are considered for elementary students. And of course, communication is key in ensuring that our students and families are aware of any changes. Again, our goal is to do this with our community and not merely to our community. Therefore, we create an attendance boundary committee made up of representatives from impacted communities. And so the attendance boundary committee provides input regarding attendance zones. And in every option that we have this evening, you'll see that George Ranch High School, they don't really have any changes in any of the options. Therefore, every high school except for George Ranch will have the opportunity to appoint someone to the ABC. Tomas High School will open with 9th through 12th graders, with it being optional for 12th graders. So this group represents our current 7th to 10th grade students. We're looking to have one parent per potentially impacted neighborhood. On the screen before you are the potentially impacted neighborhoods that we have identified, listed out by secondary campus. We're looking to have one parent representative from elementary, middle school, junior high, and high school from each of these areas. So for instance, Pecan Grove would have 4 representatives on the Tomas High School ABC that have an elementary rep, a middle school, a junior high, and a high school rep. Briscoe Falls would have 4 reps, 1 in each area. You'll notice for Terry High School, we don't have a specific impacted neighborhood. However, Terry, the zone is impacted. Therefore, we have asked Terry, secondary and elementary principals to provide some reps for the committee. And then, of course, trustees, you have the opportunity to appoint a rep. So this gives us about 68 parents, and if trustees appoint 2 reps apiece, we're looking at an ABC of about 82. Right now, we're in the process of staffing our ABCs for our rezoning and levelings. As soon as we complete that process, we'll start the process to create the ABC for Tomas. I've already been in communication with our campus principals, and they're already reaching out to find families to serve on this committee. All right, so here's an updated rezoning timeline. Tonight, trustees, this is a future action item, and we're just going to go over the process and options. In February, we're going to select and notify our ABC. At the February board meeting, we're going to bring that list to you in draft maps for your potential approval. We'll launch our community survey in March. We'll have the ABC meetings in April. And then in April, we'll bring a future action item to you. And in May, we'll bring an action item to the Board of Trustees to determine the attendance zones for secondary complex 7. At this time, I will bring up my colleague, Ms. Buchanan, to take us through the zoning projections as well as draft map options.
Did anybody need to see the maps again? Do we need to bring the maps up again, or are we good on the maps?
These are the same ones we've been looking at.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, let's see the maps. No.
And just for public, these maps are online in the last 3-4 board meetings. And so if anyone wants to see the maps, they can always go online.
And they haven't changed, they're the same maps. So,
Sonia, if we recommended people for the ABC, when will those people be contacted by?
For the Tomas ABC? For the Milton Randall, they were contacted last week. Milton Randall, Central and Southeast were contacted last week.
Okay.
I have a comment. I want to go on record again to say that even though George Ranch, and I don't think Randall is affected, I think we need representation, parent representation from every high school in the district. The Randall rezone a couple of years ago did not go well, but one of the good things about that is there's representation on that committee from everywhere in the district, including Fulshire. And that's because the committee has the opportunity to redraw a map that could affect those zones. So one trustee recommended that all high schools are involved in this process.
All right, Mr. Buchanan, 9B.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Representatives. Tonight we will bring forth the discussion about our CTE Center. Last month, we brought the conceptual design, which is the bubble diagram. Again, this site is located on Spur 10 in the corner of Foster Hall Road. This is a generic layout that we have. We're still tweaking this and working with the city of Rosenberg to make sure traffic patterns are matched. This is the layout, and it will face Spur 10. These are our CTE programming. Under health science, we have dental assistant, pharmacy tech, patient care technician, hospitality and tourism is culinary arts, human services is cosmetology, distribution and logistics is distribution and logistics, construction is carpentry, plumbing and pipe fitting, electrical and HVAC, transportation is automotive tech, painting body, drones, art, AV technology and communications is design and multimedia design, digital communications, and artificial intelligence lab. So we've taken the bubble diagram and we've broken it down. If we'll start left to right, the light teal area on your left of the screen. Here is our automotive transportation section. So on this side we have the paint and body. The enterprise entrance would be here. These are our bays with our lifts, and these are our tool rooms. On this end is our drone lab and our drone repair. As you move back across the top, this area is our construction. So you have large doors that bring construction items in if you want to be trailered in, and then there's large doors between each bay so that a project can be brought into the carpenter lab and started and then slid over to the pipe fitting and then slid over to electrical HVAC and then slid back. So to allow those projects to go back and forth through those bays. as they transition through. There's storage room in classrooms within those areas.
Mr. Buchanan, can you explain enterprise interest again, please?
So the enterprise interest for automotive on this side, this allows the public to be able to come in and do oil changes, wheel alignments, flat tires, things of that nature. So it's very much like you would have at Jiffy Lube or something like that. It's a small waiting area where you bring your car in. Students can interact just like they would at one of those oil changing places or tire changing places to be able to have those services rendered to their cars. This small little gray area in the center, that is our distribution and logistics. So our distribution and logistics labs will not only be a lab, but it will also be the distribution and logistics for the entire facility. So all deliveries will come in through the distribution and logistics. They will inventory it, move it, and then move it throughout the facility. Next to that is a dark brown. You'll see one section on the first floor. There's multiple sections on the second floor. Those are mechanical, electrical rooms that we have to have. As you continue across, the purple area is our bistro with our pastry. And then we have 3 culinary arts labs in the back. These are 4 large group instructional spaces along with 4 small group instructional spaces. Each one of these spaces has a divider wall between, so you get a combination of 1 to 3. You could have all 4 open. You could have 2 open at a time. Same thing with the small group meeting spaces. Towards the front, we have the administration area for the CTE. These light teal are classrooms. This section here is our cosmetology lab, again with an enterprise entrance here. So the enterprise entrance for nails, pedicures, hair coloring, haircuts, they would be able to come in there, have a small waiting area, be able to come in and receive their service, and then come back out. This area, as it was a shell space. As we worked through everything, we've met all the things that we needed to at this point in time. So that is the CTE administration. So our executive director of CTE, along with coordinators, will have offices there to be able to help facilitate things with on the campus. And then this section here is our, is our lab for computer lab, our within our labs within the first floor to be able to have classrooms. That's our communications, our multi-AV, and our green screens, things in that area within that facility.
That's what I'm talking about, living out for your teammates, right?
Thank you. On our second floor, again, the brown areas that you have are mechanical rooms, and this is the majority of our mechanical electrical rooms. We've been able to place on the second floor to maximize the first floor activity. Starting on the right, we have our general ed classrooms, our AV lab, and then this is our pharmacy tech, and then we move into our healthcare. These are our patient beds, and then on this side is our dental assistants. So that's, you move across the facility. So all we've done is take the bowl diagrams that we had last month and just divided up those spaces to make them usable, functional in the hallways that we laid out within the facility itself. Are there any questions?
With the nursing practicum classes we do, one of the things we talked about, excuse me, have some water. Through the shack is that our nursing practicum students will help be able to participate in the ECGs and all that kind of stuff. Will that go through this process as well? Will there be like an enterprise area or anything like that for the dental or whatnot?
So we do not currently have an enterprise space for that. The plan is though to partner with, for instance, dental with a dentist, right, who can come in and work with those students. But as far as the healthcare goes, they have to be certified in order to provide those services for legal reasons, obviously. But no, there's not an enterprise built in for the health science.
I have a question for Mr. Buchanan. Can you tell me again, I think we talked about it last month or the month before, how many students this building can hold at any one time? Like the first half of the day, and then there'll be a change from what I understand for the second half of the day. So in the first half of the day, how many students would be inside?
So right now, we're still working through that as we work through our program. Right now, we're averaging about 800 students during the day and 800 students in the afternoon. So it'll be a total of 1,600 students to be able to go through the facility every day.
So my question is, are we, because we have a lot of land and we passed a very large bond with the public's approval, are we building this building as large as we can to anticipate future Lamar growth?
Right now, we're building this building as large as we can with the budget that we have allocated through that bond.
With the budget that we have?
That's correct, sir.
Will there be able to add on this building in the future, or is the thinking, I mean, I know this is very preliminary, is the thinking to put a second CTE center somewhere else in the district, 20 years from now? Or will this facility be able to be added on to?
Every facility we have that can be added on to, the one constraint that we would probably have at this site is, we're planning on putting 4 other buildings on that site as well as this, would be our drainage. So anytime we add an impermeable surface, it would be the drainage. So if we have enough detention here, yes, we can be able to expand this facility, but that would be coordination depending on when those other buildings come online and how much drainage we can have for that facility.
Thanks.
All right, good.
Yes, sir.
All right. You're gonna be up here for a minute. We have 9 Cs. Let's begin.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Nimitz. I'm moving for a discussion about the conceptual design for the new Brazos Crossing administration. Again, this location will be located due south of Avenue I, across from Trailer Stadium and our service center. What we've been able to utilize on this site layout is we're lining up our intersections across from our service center, the main traffic light here, along with the entrance into small visitors parking. What this allows, we put majority of the parking on the west side of the facility. So now that can be used as visitor parking. There are crosswalks already at this main intersection with lights, so to allow visitor parking to be able to park over there. And then our officers work that intersection so they'll be able to move across the intersection. So the programming within the facility are curriculum and instruction, communication, finance, human resources, operations, superintendent, and student services. So this is, again, is a bubble diagram layout. Starting from left to right, we have the main lobby area that comes into our boardroom with our boardroom support. Then we have meeting room support, a large meeting area, human resources, then finance and student services. That will be on the first floor of the administration building. On the second floor, we'll have curriculum and instruction, communications, operations, and then the superintendent's office. Are there any questions about our bubble diagrams?
The meeting room there, is that our meeting room for these type of meetings, or will this be able to be for, like, I know Increment has been very gracious to allow us to have principal meetings there and all that. Would that serve both purposes, or large enough for that?
Yes, sir. So we're still working through the square footage as we get into the actual physical program, but right now we're estimating it to be roughly the size of a cafeteria gym of an elementary school. So roughly about 5,000 to 6,000 square feet with a dividing wall in the center. So you'd have to have 2 spaces, or you could open the dividing wall and have a large meeting space. So yes, it would be able to hold our principal AP meetings within the facility.
Mr. Buchanan, same question about the CTE Center. Are we maximizing the size of this building with the budget that we have?
Yes, sir. One thing that we did do is we continue to look at it. With the detention that we have, we're looking at also being able to have a future development on that, whatever that may be, whether it be expanded parking or additional building space if we need to, because all this drains on the picture from left to right.
As far as the boardroom in that building, I know a lot of other districts have a designated boardroom. I don't know if they use it throughout the month when they're not having board meetings, but this room where we're meeting currently is used for all kinds of things. The boardroom in this conceptual design, will it be utilized for other things, or is it going to have the rostrum and pretty much nothing else? I mean,
It may be, but it'll be a stationary boardroom. It'll be a legitimate bona fide boardroom. With seating and lights and all those things. And so if we're able to use it, we will, but the material, the furniture in there won't be. No, it'll be a dedicated board.
And I noticed that we're not bringing in the sped department that's got an annex building. There's no thinking about putting everybody under one roof?
There was, the budget for it would not really allow it, but also I spoke with the State Department, and they really like their annex. And so, and it's quite a few of them also, our students with special needs, they're growing, their population is growing. And so what the conversation is to make sure that we update the building, safety security measures, update it, but they really like staying in annex. Okay, board, so we move to the action items, and I know we skipped the maps for Tomas, but since you're voting on these tonight, we're going to go ahead and do the entire presentation. And so we first have 10A rezoning, ABC committee, and draft office for Terrell and elementary school 35. And again, Ms. Lamb will explain it, but I was going to say it again clearly. You're voting to send these forward to the ABC committee, and then the committee will then rank those and send those back to the board for a final vote. And so tonight, the board voting doesn't mean the maps are set in place. These are the maps that the board's going to send to the committee.
That is correct, Dr. Nevins. And so addressing the attendance issues in this area related to Terrell are in response to our mobile management plan. We have 3 approaches: capital flow, new campuses, and leveling. And so opening Terrell represents new campuses. So with the campuses opening in August 24, and elementary 35 opening in August 25, we've got to rezone some of our elementary campuses to create a population of students who will attend these new schools. And so earlier in the Tomas presentation, I talked about the attendance boundary committee and its purpose, how it's made up of representatives from each potentially impacted campus. The attendance boundary committees are selected by campus principals, and then trustees have the opportunity to appoint members as well. And so for the Terrell Attendance Boundary Committee, we've got 15 individuals who make up this committee. They're from Adolphus, Bentley, Hubenek, and McNeil. And trustees, after this evening, after you vet and approve this committee list, their names will go on the website along with their email addresses as contact information. And these are their community reps. And anyone with questions, comments, concerns about the process will contact their ABC rep. And the ABC rep has the opportunity to bring that forward through the meetings that we're going to have next month. The next slide represents the timeline we've been following. We suggested it to accommodate the updated date for the board meeting. And the survey, which was supposed to launch after you vote, has now been moved to tomorrow. So the survey will launch at 8 a.m. tomorrow, pending approval of the maps this evening. And so at this time, I will bring up my colleague, Mr. Buchanan, to walk us through the maps.
Good evening, Board Trustees and Dr. Nevins. Now we're going to walk through our current maps that we have for Terrell Elementary and Elementary 35. So these are our current attendance zones that we have for the 23-24 school year. On the left is our current attendance zone. On our right is option 1 for the 24-25 school year only. So in this section, the only impacted elementary school would be Bentley Elementary, and that it would be Covey Trails, Canyon Village, Canyon Springs, Canyon Lakes, Hidden Lakes, and Candela would move out of the Bentley zone into the Terrell zone. So those would be the only impacted communities within the option 1 for the fall of 24. Looking at the fall of 24 is on your left, the fall of 25 would be on your right for this option. This is elementary school 35 that will open up in the fall of 25. So in this section, you'll have Horseshoe Ridge, you'll have Canyon Gates, you'll have Lake of Bella Terra West, Talavera, Briscoe Falls, and then Rolling Oaks, Rolling Creek would be in the elementary school 35 attendance zone. Are there any questions about option 1 for either year? So option 2 for the fall of 24-25, again, Terrell Elementary will pull those same neighborhoods from Bentley Elementary, but as you move further to the right, we're looking at Hubenak being the campus that has been capped the longest within our district, being able to provide relief sooner. This allows the Aurora District West apartment complex and the estates at Parkway Lakes would shift from Hubenak into McNeil, and then the section of Lost Creek north of Bel Air would shift from Adolphus into McNeil. One thing I would like to point out is in this option board, you have elementary school 37, which will open up in the fall of 26, which could have a possible impact of impacting those neighborhoods again during that rezoning. But until we start developing those zones and our growth, we don't know exactly for sure. So in the fall of 25 for option 2, the only difference between this and option 1 is we just went further south on FM 723. The reason being is because those students would have to go down and through the 359, 723 intersection to come back up to Bentley, or they would have to go north to Full Ship Gas and across and come back down. So everything would then just travel north on 723 up to Bel Air for the elementary school. Are there any questions about option 2? Option 3 for the 24-25 school year, again, Terrell Elementary is the same, pulling those same neighborhoods from Bentley. Instead of moving Lost Creek out of Adolphus, what this does is grab the other 2 Parkway Lakes, the Meadows and the Grand Meadows south of Bel Air, and moves them into McNeil. So everything that would be east of 99, that would be in the Human Act zone, would now shift over to McNeil for option 3. Again, elementary school 37 is projected to open in the fall of 26 for that area. For the fall of 25 for option 3, it is very similar to option 1 when it comes to elementary school 35, pulling those major neighborhoods around Bel Air and 723, and then stopping just after Rolling Oaks, Rolling Creek neighborhood on FM 723. Are there any questions about option 3?
I just want to make sure, as we're going through this quickly, and when you have the ABC committees, that especially if 36 up to 37, that we're not going to be having to move kids 2 years down the line, that once they're moved, they're there. Because that's where we get in trouble with parents go, you just moved us and now you want to move us again. Is that going to be a problem with any of these 3 maps, or are they pretty much looking at that's going to pop up?
Yes, so option 2 and option 3 does have that possibility because we are moving the east side of 99, both on Adolphus and Human Act. So yes, ma'am, those option 2 and 3 for these options could possibly move students multiple times, but it would allow Human Act to become uncapped next school year.
But that information needs to make sure that parents understand that's going to happen so that we're very transparent. Of course, some parents go out here investing into a brand new school to be moved to another brand new school, so they're not going to a brand new school and they are. So it's half a dozen, one or the other. Just make sure that parents do understand that that's right.
Yes, ma'am.
Just as an additional note, I wanted to share with you all and for the record. The survey again launches tomorrow. Last week, principals did communicate, the principals of the impacted campuses did communicate to their school community that a survey was coming. And so the principals will again communicate that in their newsletters and via direct email this week. Top of next week, we'll also send out backpack flyers for those impacted communities so there's an awareness that there is a survey. And again, parents have from January 18th until January 31st to provide their feedback.
Will these maps be online?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you for asking. As soon as the board finalizes everything, first thing in the morning, all the maps will be available online, as well as the committee reps and their contact information.
So what is the survey that y'all send out? What is the survey about?
Sure. So the survey first explains the context for why we're doing this, whether it's because a new campus is opening or whether it's to better balance enrollment across campuses. The survey respondents are provided with 3 data points. They receive the projections, they receive the current attendance zones, and then they can download the map. So there's 3 different links. They'll have all those data points. They'll review the documents, and then from there, they're asked to look at the potential maps and rank them in order of preference. And then the next question asks them, which is your preferred map? And so we'll our respondents will take the survey. We'll take all that data, we'll make that data available. Oh, there also is a free response. They can write in additional comments. We'll take all those data points and present it and share it with the ABC. They'll look over it, and they may use that data to create an additional map, or perhaps it can influence their decision regarding how they want to rank them in order to make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
So are the surveys like one per family, or how does that work?
One per email address per parent.
Okay.
And it's if the, thank you for asking, it's if the parent lives within the attendance boundaries. For instance, let's say there's a mom and dad and they're not together. So it goes to the address of the impacted. So if one of the parents doesn't live, that parent would not receive it, even though they are a parent of the student. And the surveys are in English and in Spanish. Okay, for Melton, very similar information. It's a new campus. We're going to have to rezone to create population of students. For this particular ABC, I believe we've got 17 dedicated, committed individuals who are representing Lindsay Elementary, Huggins Elementary, and Tamaron Elementary. The same timeline applies. The same survey deadlines applies. So I'll just turn it over to Ms. Buchanan to walk us through the map options. Oh, sure.
Okay. May I have a motion for the board to approve the attendance boundary committee and the slate of draft zoning options for Terrell Elementary School and Elementary School number 35?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? No, now call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No opposed, the motion carries. All right, now you're up.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nevins. Tonight we will bring forth some discussion about maps for the Melton, Randall, and Elementary School 36. On our left is our current attendance boundary for Lindsay, Tamaron, and Huggins. On right is for the fall of '24 for option 1. What this does is take Young Ranch, Willow Creek Farms, and Jordan Ranch, all of those are east of 99, out of the Lindsay attendance zone and into Melton, along with a section of Tamaron right here. That section there currently does not have any student population within that boundary. So that would move out of Tamaron, along with the west side of Lindsay would go into Melton Elementary. From Tamaron, it takes the section of Tamaron that is west of Texas Heritage Parkway, along with the southern section of the Tamaron Housing Addition, along with Cross Creek Ranch, both east and west of Texas Heritage Parkway, into Randall Elementary. That would make our attendance zone for option 1 for the fall of '24. So for our fall of 25, opening of Elementary School 36 would take Tamaron West, along with Cross Creek West, Pecan Hill, and 2 sections of undeveloped area currently, and move into that attendance zone. So that would be the fall of '25 change, and there would be no change to Randall and Melton for the fall of '25. Are there any questions about option 1? Option 2, the section of land that we talked about that was from Tamaron that is undeveloped, we just left that section with Tamaron. The rest of Young Ranch, Willow Creek Farms, and Jordan Ranch, west of Texas Heritage Parkway, would move into Melton Elementary School. In this option, we left the section that is west of Texas Heritage Parkway at Tamaron. Being able to provide it some relief, we took another southern section of Tamaron out of that and moved it into Randall Elementary School. And if you'll notice the section west of Texas Heritage Parkway from Tamaron in the fall of '25, that would be part of Elementary School 36, along with Tamaron West, Cross Creek West, Van Brook, Pecan Hills, and the undeveloped area along 359 would continue to stay at Huggins Elementary. Are there any questions about option 2? So option 3, Melton Elementary goes back to the attendance boundary that we had within option 1. Option 2, which expands Viola Randall Elementary School. It not only takes in the southern section of Tamaron, but the west of Texas Heritage Parkway section of Tamaron as well. It also dips down south to Fulsher Run and Bodark Estates. That would then go into Viola Randall Elementary School for the fall of '24. In doing that for the fall of '25, Elementary 36 would be Cross Creek West, Tamaron West, and these two undeveloped sections along 359. Are there any questions about option 3?
And so for Melton, much like Terrell, the same, like I said, cadence is in place for the survey, same survey structure, and same expectations.
So when they get the maps, they also get the numbers that we saw as well, like they'll see.
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
zoned this way.
And to be consistent, they get this actual document as a link. These maps this map is a link, the current tenant zones, and then the mapped options are in a packet, a PDF packet.
Okay, I have a motion for the board to approve the attendance boundary committee and the slate of draft zoning options for Melton Elementary School, Randall Elementary School, and Elementary School number 36. Okay, do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? No discussion. I now call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
All right, trustees, our next two items relate to leveling. And so we talked about what happens when we build a new campus and we have to create an attendance zone for the students to attend that campus. Well, leveling is when we look at our campuses that are under enrollment, some that are over enrollment, and we make some adjustments to better balance enrollment across multiple campuses. When we do this process, we still utilize an ABC. We still follow the same criteria. And so the ABC of committed volunteers for the Central Lamar leveling consists of 34 individuals. They are listed here. They represent Austin Elementary, Frost Elementary, Jackson, Long, Pink, Smith, and Travis Elementary. The leveling process follows a similar timeline for rezoning, with the exception that their ABCs occur a little later in February. We're going to complete the rezoning process first. After we do that, then we'll address the leveling process. And so those meetings are a little later in February. And in the event, in all events of all four scenarios, if there is a need for a second survey, we have built that into the timeline, and that's in the event that an ABC creates an additional option. We do want to be able to present that to the community for their feedback. Trustees, the leveling timeline has us bringing a future action item to you in March, with April being the opportunity for the decision point. So at this time, I'll bring up my colleague, Mr. Buchanan. He'll talk about the options and explain a little bit how we're structuring them, which also impact the survey.
Good evening, Board Trustees and Dr. Nevins. Tonight, what we've done is we've left option 3 as option 3, but when we do the survey, they will only see option 1, option 2, and option 4. So this is the document that they will see. Just keeping all the options, knowing as we remove an option out, we just keep numbering after that so that there's no confusion. So this is our current option, our current attendance zone for the fall of '23. So to the left is our current attendance zone, to the right is option 1. The movement that we have here is, again, Frost Elementary School is the one that is overcrowded at this point in time, and we're still monitoring it to possibly cap that campus this school year. So we were looking at how to be able to provide relief for Frost Elementary School. So we were looking at the southern boundary of that. So on the right-hand side, currently Pecan Lakes attends Frost Elementary. It would shift south and go into Austin Elementary School. To provide room for that, we need to move some students out of Austin. So in this option, River's Edge would move out of Austin Elementary School into Jane Long. On the left side, which is the west side, along 723, the southern section of Kingdom Heights and the new section that is undeveloped of Kingdom Heights would shift out of Frost and go into Jackson Elementary School. To provide room for those students, Riverside Terrace, along with 3 sections of downtown Rosenberg, would shift out of Jackson and into Travis Elementary School. We were looking at Riverswood Village. Right now, it is The north side is bound by the Brazos. The south side is railroad tracks. Looking at that is right now, currently it attends Jane Long, so it has to cross back and forth across those railroad tracks, taking that section and moving it into Pink Elementary School, so now those students or buses wouldn't have to continually go back and forth across the railroad tracks. On the southern side, there is a section between Avenue H, north of Avenue H and the railroad tracks that would shift out of Jane Long, along with the Brittany Square Apartments and the Briar Square Apartments. Both of those would shift out of Jane Long and into Smith Elementary School. Are there any questions about option one? Option two, the section on the west side, which is the Kingdom Heights and the new section of Kingdom Heights, would again be shifted into Jackson. The section of Jackson that we talked about would go into Travis. In this option, the Riverswood Village would continue to stay at Jane Long. The Brittany Square Apartments, Briarstone Apartments, and the Richmond House Apartments would come out of Jane Long and into Smith Elementary School. Pecan Lakes would still go into Austin Elementary School, and to provide room, River's Edge would come out of Austin and go into Pink Elementary School. Are there any questions about option two? Option three is no longer viable, so then we went to option four. Option four takes all of Kingdom Heights, both the north-south and the future section of it, and moves into Jackson Elementary. Riverside Terrace, along with Rosenberg, would again shift into Travis. Riverswood Village would go into Pink. The sections of currently the Richmond House Apartments, Brittany Square Apartments, Briarstone Apartments will continue to attend Jane Long. River's Edge and Rio Vista will continue to stay at Austin Elementary School with no changes, and Pecan Lakes will continue to stay at Frost. Are there any questions about option four?
It is the desire of the Lamar CISD Board of Trustees to appropriately and effectively fulfill its governance role in accordance to best practices for quality organizations and to be applicable and to the applicable provisions of the Texas Education Code. Trustees also desire to afford an opportunity for input from the public. Members of the community who wish to address the board must have completed a public participation public comment card and submitted it before the presiding officer called the meeting to order. Public participation allows individuals to address the board regarding posted agenda items. Public comment allows individuals to address the board regarding non-agenda items. Trustees may not respond to public comments as they are prohibited by law from discussing or deciding any subject that is not on the board's publicly noticed agenda. A total of 30 minutes will be set aside for public comment. All patrons desiring to speak and who have completed the public participation public comment card will be heard during the public comment or participation part of the meeting before final board action is taken on the agenda topic. While speakers generally have 5 minutes to address the board, the presiding officer may establish an overall time limit for public participation and public comment, and adjust the time allotted to each speaker when necessary to accommodate a large number of speakers. However, no speaker shall be given less than 1 minute. All of this is in compliance with HB 2840. Each speaker tonight will have 5 minutes. Each speaker must address the board from the provided podium unless special accommodations have been requested and approved. Speakers are to present their remarks to the board and not to the audience. Speakers having complaints against individual district employees or trustees may only address the board after filing a complaint form and in the manner provided for in Board Policy DGBA Employee Complaints, F&G Student and Parent Complaints, GF Public Complaints. The presiding officer or designee shall determine whether a speaker has filed a complaint according to policy. Any speakers who complain of individual district employees or trustees during public participation, public comment, will be directed to by the presiding officer to stop addressing the board and will refer the speaker to the appropriate complaint policy. School board meetings are meetings held in public but are not public meetings. While the board values hearing from members of the public, trustees will not answer questions or respond to comments from patrons. Speakers will not engage in dialogue with the trustees. Please state your name when you come forward. Our speaker tonight is Anthony Duke III.
All right, I'm Anthony Duke. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Am I the only speaker? I guess I am. All right, so I feel like I'm here on a Hail Mary attempt to keep Kingdom Heights from being put on the sacrificial altar for mistakes made in the past. And so I believe we knew or should have known that Kingdom Heights would have at least 300 students, and when fully built, it's going to have over 1,400 homes, probably over 500 students. So with that in mind, I wonder why there was no plan, or at least it seems to me there was no cohesive plan for Kingdom Heights. We didn't have our own school built, and it doesn't appear like there was a plan for where our students would attend school. Separate from this is, the issue with the underperformance of Jackson. I think we're not being, I really kind of take issue with the term underutilized, because I think there's a reason that folks aren't sending their kids to Jackson. So we just, I think we could just accept and recognize that, right? And before someone accuses me of disparaging the staff at Jackson, I think there's reasons for the underperformance. They likely need specialized resources, both the staff and the students, and they have not been afforded that. It's just my opinion. I don't know the specifics. But in addition, I think there's a false belief that if we send the Kingdom Heights students to Jackson and make them 75% of the student body, that they're going to advance the rest, the 25%, when in actuality I believe it's going to be exactly the opposite. The 75% of students will be held back and therefore receive a substandard education. We're told that the justification for moving Kingdom Heights to Jackson is that we're located physically closer to Jackson. That's been the case since the neighborhood was started. And so, never mind the impossible and deadly left-hand turn. There was a fatality out on that road just the other day. And the fact that Jackson is in no way comparable to Frost, which we're currently zoned to. I'll say the quiet part out loud. The reason, in my opinion, we were never zoned to Jackson is that you can't sell new homes being zoned to Jackson. That would not have worked, right? So how I'm feeling, my opinion is after receiving our tax dollars for over 13 years, based on the expectation of our children attending Frost, to have our neighborhood rezoned is unacceptable and frankly just wrong in my opinion. And so therefore I oppose in the strongest terms possible any option which rezones Kingdom Heights to Jackson, which looks like all of them other than option 3, which I don't know why it was rejected. So with that, I'd ask you to please consider building us our own elementary school, or sending us to a comparable school such as Bentley, and I don't know the other options, but it looks like Bentley would be a comparable school to Frost. So, and I was here last month, but I didn't come early enough to speak. But I heard some comments dismissing the impact of property values. But A lot of people don't know that for the average American, 50% of your net worth is tied up in the equity of your personal residence. So this is a big deal for a lot of folks. You know, when we talk about property values, it's not something that's insignificant. So, I just, I'm almost out of time. Please reconsider sending Kingdom Heights to Jackson. Thank you very much.
That's all.
Yeah, I yield my time.
I had a question. Can we pull up real fast the list of, the ABC committee list? I wanted to look at that real fast. So this was the list that we submitted people for also?
Trustees had the opportunity to submit names, and campus principals had the opportunity to submit names.
Because my people aren't on here.
We did have some people asked to not participate, and so I can look and see if there were some of the people that you suggested. In addition, we did cross-reference some people. I can put that up.
I don't think this is right.
Is this for this is for the central, is this the one you want to look at? In my computer.
I had two Frost parents.
For Central, we had you submit a Casey Miller, was submitted by trustee Bronzel.
And a Clayton Settle.
I remember that name. I think Clayton may have been asked to come off.
He
but we
asked
do-
to not be on
Hold on,
it?
I'm gonna double check.
Okay.
But we do have, I've got you down for Casey Miller. Casey Miller is on there.
Where is she?
She's the bottom. We couldn't find the campus in
Oh.
Skyward,
I'm
and so
sorry.
we didn't remove her completely.
I didn't see her.
or
Yeah,
he-
she's a Frost parent.
Frost parent? Okay, we can update that.
And the
let's
Clayton Settle, he asked to not
Hold
be
on,
on
I'm gonna
there?
double check. That wasn't one, there was a different name. No, I remember the Clayton Settle name, though. Oh, Clayton Settle, right here on Southeast Lamar. Clayton Settle's in the next presentation, and so we've got Clayton Settle as having a student at Williams Elementary. And so that's not this
That's
ABC. So
strange.
if we've
Okay.
got to put Clayton on this one, but we've got Clayton Settle on the other ABC.
Oh, okay. I don't know. He told me he was a Frost parent, but that's interesting. Okay, never mind. I don't know. Leave him there, I guess. Okay, sorry. Thank you. That was it. Any other questions?
Yeah, we're not supposed to respond publicly to the comments, so sir, I would like you to email me if you would. If you'd find my email on the website, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. TxDOT, can we talk about TxDOT and that light?
Sure.
Has there been any conversation about that since?
I know my office has had a lot of conversations with TxDOT, so I know
Since-
they're
so
going
we're-
to attempt to move it on, but move it up.
Are you talking about since November, December? That-
Yes, since we've been having these meetings, yes. Move the light up. I know your office has as well.
Yes, actually, TxDOT representative reached out to myself, so we met with him, was last week, Greg? Did we meet him last week? No, it was,
It was a week right after Christmas break.
the week right
First
after
in
Christmas
January.
break, the first week we got back in January. And so we talked about some district priorities. And so we sent back a message with him to make that a priority for us. But also, Greg, you want to talk about some of the suggestions that we gave to help move that along faster? And if we could not get a full light there, what were some suggestions that we gave?
So one thing that we talked about TxDOT was a very low-cost solution. Currently, right now, they have flashing amber lights sitting at that location.
What's amber?
Amber is orangish, it's not yellow. It's just
a
an
slow down
orange.
light, it's a yellow
Right,
light,
just
slow
letting
down
you-
light.
Yeah, saying, hey, there's something here. Right now, what we're looking at, and we asked them to explore, is changing those out to red and then putting up a three-way stop at that location. If a light's going there in the near future, is to put up 3 stop signs along with flashing red lights. Would be a very low-cost situation to be able to put a controlled intersection there. And they said that they would explore it and get back to us to be able to address it that way.
And I sat at the intersection for a while, just watching traffic patterns and all that. And so while I was there, I was on the phone with State Rep Jatan, and he's saying that his office was working on it as well, so.
Our meeting with TxDOT, actually, I don't believe in chance, but, for everybody else always says about chance, I think it was something else. But anyway, he reached out, and so right before Christmas, we set up our meeting for the week we got back from Christmas. And his initial conversation was about long-term development in the district and helping us with roadways and traffic lights and all those things. And so the conversation we led, I started by saying, our biggest priority, of course, is, the traffic light at Kingdom Heights. And he didn't really know about that, and so we had a good conversation about it. Greg was able to bring up some satellite images to talk through it. And so he gave us his word that he would take it back to the engineers, I believe he said, right, engineers?
That's correct.
And have a conversation about it, and he said he'll follow up with us within the next month about, the progress. But he committed to taking that back and expressing the urgency that the district has to make that happen for the community.
So Trustee Bronzell, I did pull the address of that resident just to cross-check. You are correct, it's Frost. And so if the board would allow, we'd like to put that name on the central list as right now it appears on the southeast list. That's just an error on our part. We can make that correction for you.
So would you say his name one more time and say, so the motion would be to add his name to the ABC committee also?
It's Clayton Settle. Settle.
So I think just to be on the safe side, that should be added to the motion when we say adding him. Approve the list that's presented while adding him.
To the committee list.
To the committee list. I think that'll be the safest thing to do.
Okay. So are we ready? You want me to make the motion? I should make the motion? Okay, why don't you make the motion? Clayton Settle.
Okay. I'm going to make the motion that we consider approval of the draft attendance zone maps and attendance boundary committee for Central Lamar CISD, Austin Elementary, Frost Elementary, Jackson Elementary, Long Elementary, Pink Elementary, Smith Elementary, Travis Elementary, with adding Clayton Settle to the list for the ABC committee. There's a second. Okay.
Any discussion? Okay, I have some discussion. I hate to now vote against this because that's my person that I want on this committee. But I am going to be voting against this because I feel like Kingdom Heights should at least have one map that does not send them to Jackson. So on that note, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes.
Well, can I say that that's part of the ABC committee too, is that there are Kingdom Heights people on the committee that
Yes.
would help create a map that would be a solution.
You can say that.
Right.
Okay, trustees, the final presentation in this bulk is the leveling for the South District, the southeast section of our district. Again, the same ABC guidelines apply, the same process. And these are the 27 individuals who will represent this attendance boundary committee. Representatives from Campbell, Carter, Dickinson, Hutchison, Velasquez, and Williams will make up this ABC. It's 27. And so when you count all four ABCs together, we've got 93 parents representatives. Really exciting. At this time, I will bring up my colleague, Mr. Buchanan, to walk through the projections and the maps.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Dr. Nevins, tonight we want to go forth our projections. Again, the board rejected options 2 and 4. So tonight we'll be going through options 1. This is our current attendance zone for that area. So in option 1, we have the section of River Park that is east of 99, north of 59, would transition out of Hutchison into Campbell Elementary School. Then you have Brazos Terrace, Brazos Gates would shift out of Hutchison into Dickinson, And then you would have the retreat at Sovereign Estates, Rivers Chase, Brazos Village, Brazos Gardens would shift out of Williams into Hutchinson, and then Brombrook Plantation, which is north of Reading, would go into Williams, along with the north section of Bridlewood Estates. Are there any questions about option one? Option three, the Hutchinson attendance zone does not change. The Williams attendance zone does not change. The only changes are four real major changes. 3 impact current students, 1 impacts future students. In this option, Brombrook Plantation north of Reading would shift out of Carter and into Campbell Elementary School. The north section of Bridlewood Estates would shift into Dickinson, along with Brazos Lakes. And this green section down here is the future Austin Point development, would shift into Velasquez Elementary School. This option does move the least amount of students. Are there any questions about the 2 options?
Mr. Buchanan, you can go back to option 3, if you could show that map. I had someone ask me why Bondbrook and Bridlewood on the proposed option 3 is not moved to the same Greatwood school. Why are they split?
So what we were trying to do on that is both Campbell and Dickinson are underutilized at this point in time. What we're looking at is 2 things. One is to be able to get students into and out of traffic. The other thing is with the Bridlewood and Bondbrook, that's almost, I think it's almost 300 students, a little over 300 students alone. So moving them into one elementary school would be a large impact to that one school, making it almost to the point where it would be capped and leaving that other elementary school within Greatwood underutilized. So you'd have one that would probably be capped and overflowed into the other Greatwood school if we were to put both of them into a single Greatwood school. That would be a great possibility.
So if option 3 is adopted by the board later, Dickinson will be underutilized still? Is that correct? In Campbell?
No, it would be up. If we were to take Bondbrook Plantation and the Bridlewood Estates currently and combine them and just put them in Dickinson, it would be almost to the point where it would be capped, and then Campbell would be still underutilized. But separating the 2, it allows both campuses to, their attendance to raise up. So they would still have room to grow within both of those.
Okay, so if this map is adopted, it would still leave the 2 Greatwood schools with room to grow.
That's correct. And the 2 neighborhoods that we're putting into those, 3 neighborhoods we're putting into the 2 Greatwood schools, that allow those to continue to grow as well. We're trying not to create a deal where we're going to end up capping a school and overflowing it into the next. We're trying to avoid that with these projections.
Explain again the traffic patterns, because Bridlewood Estates is going to Dickinson and Bondbrook Plantation would go to Campbell. Is that what it's showing?
That is correct.
Would they be taking the same traffic pattern to go in there?
There's 2, is Bridlewood Estates both have exit onto 762 here and 762, because 762 comes and turns. So there's both, being able to get a Bridlewood on both sides. Bondbrook Plantation will more than likely come out Reading, up, and then down 762 back up to Greatwood.
And just to reiterate for the public, because we're only offering the ABC 2 maps, we're going to allow them to make 2 maps, unlike the other ABCs, to match.
That is correct.
The total number of maps would be 4 possible maps that the ABCs get to vote on. So this one the committee would be able to create 2 different maps.
That is correct.
Can we go back to the timeline? Okay. Can we just kind of explain to the public, the first community survey is just sending out options 1 and 3? And are they going to be ranked?
Yes, ma'am. And so the survey that launches tomorrow will only be what the trustees has approved right now to move forward to the ABC. We're sending those maps as is because the ABC will utilize survey feedback to inform their decisions and perhaps help them create an additional maps. In the event that the ABC creates an additional map, we do understand the importance of going back out to the impacted community and getting input regarding whatever additional new maps they've created.
So does the survey explain that these are not the only two options and that more are likely coming?
No, ma'am. The survey just asks, based off what's in front of you, what's your feedback? There is an open-ended section where people can provide feedback. In addition, we're encouraging people to reach out to their rep, to ABC rep, with any additional considerations, data points, or suggestions for creating additional maps. On the first survey, the one that's going to go out tomorrow, as I shared, respondents will see the map options that you all have seen this evening. They're going to be asked to rank the options before them and then also provide a top preference.
As we've been getting requests, we're still getting requests from some community members to create new maps. And so now we're just directing them to their committee member to, you know, if they have information or just whatever they want to give it to your committee member. And your committee member can take that to the ABC now on your behalf if they choose to advocate for that. And so that's now the new direction that we're taking, that we're getting all the requests, is that now you need to go talk to your ABC committee member. And that's why we publicized those names. We also told them that their email addresses will be public, so folks know who they can email that's advocating on their behalf, that's on the ABC committee that's representing their community.
Okay. May I have a motion for the board to approve attendance boundary committee and the slate of draft zoning options for Southeast Lamar CISD, which includes Campbell Elementary School, Carter Elementary School, Dickinson Elementary School, Hutchison Elementary School, Velasquez Elementary School, and Williams Elementary School? Okay.
Yep. I'd like to add that we will be taking off Clayton Settled from that list.
Okay, you okay with that? Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? No discussion. Now I call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Okay, the motion carries.
So next we'll have Ms. Lowick come up and introduce our auditor, but before she does that, I just again want to tell our trustees I appreciate everything. I know this has been, it's still not over, but you know, now that you've approved those maps to go to the ABC committee, they can have the conversations, but I really do appreciate the time that you have taken, all the work that you've taken, you know, driving around communities and just paying attention and asking all the hard questions, and just really taking the time to make sure that you have all the information you need to make the votes. And so I really do appreciate that. Not a lot of people in my seat can say that. And so I really do appreciate the fact that you've done that and that you continue to do that. So thank you so much. So Ms. Lowick.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. This evening, we will be having a discussion about the annual audit. Each year, all school districts in the state of Texas are required to have an audit by an external independent auditor. Our audit firm is Whitley Penn. They were renewed with the district through a competitive process early in 2023. So they're continuing their engagement with us. Each year, they review our results of operations, financial reports, controls, procedures, all those things, and then the audit engagement concludes with an opinion. Tonight, we have a representative from Whitley Penn to go through all of those items and answer any questions you might have. So with that, Selena.
Thank you very much, President Bronswell, members of the board, and Dr. Nivens. We're here to present the results of the fiscal year 2023 financial statement and single audits. I'd like to take you through the audit process. We were engaged in April of 2023, and then we came on site in the early summer months and began gathering narratives over internal controls, identifying the key controls, and then testing those controls, all in an effort in determining our substantive testing after the district closed its books as of August 31st, 2023. All in an effort to issue our opinion on these financial statements as well as the single audit, which I'll get into here in a bit. So the purpose of the audit is to issue an opinion, and the opinions shown here worsen as you go from right to left. Every entity wants an unmodified or clean opinion. And I'm pleased to report that you have received an unmodified opinion over the financial statements. We not only apply generally accepted auditing standards, but also generally accepted government auditing standards, or the Yellow Book, because you do spend more than $750,000 in federal funding. We don't have any findings related to state compliance, the Public Funds Investment Act, procurement, et cetera, and no internal control findings either over financial reporting. Moving on to the federal programs and our opinion over these federal programs. So in addition to the generally accepted government auditing standards, we add an additional layer of standards under the Office of Management and Budget, Compliance Supplement, and the Code of Federal Regulations. You spent $53 million in federal awards this year. And again, we have to test ESSER 2, 3, and all of its components because the OMB has deemed it higher risk, and it will continue to be a higher risk program until it's fully exhausted. We also tested Title I Part A and D, which totaled $4 million, and the ESSER funding totaled $19 million. Each of these programs is receiving an unmodified opinion, and we didn't have any internal control findings related to these major programs. There's also a separate report that summarizes these slides, and you can see all of the federal programs that are listed there. In addition to our planning process, we issued a letter to you all in part of the planning process. And within that letter, we identified 2 risks that are applicable to all audited entities, and that pertains to management override and revenue recognition. As auditors, we're required to develop procedures to mitigate these risks, and we feel that those procedures are sufficient. We also look at your accounting policies and to ensure that they're in accordance with industry standards, and we don't see it out of line in any manner. All governments in the United States implemented GASB number 96, or at least had to evaluate it. GASB 96 is subscription-based technology arrangements, and what that indicates is that you have software subscriptions that are long-term, and you have a right to use asset and a corresponding liability. And you all implemented that this year, and it's the sister pronouncement to leases. We didn't have any disagreements with your management team or any difficulties in conducting the audit. The last piece of audit evidence that we received last week was the management representation letter that indicates that your management team has not withheld any information so we could do our audit, and everything has been provided to us. The second bullet point doesn't mean that you cannot contact other audit firms. It just means if we have a difference of opinion and you opinion shop, we'd be required to report that to you tonight. But as we're aware, that has not occurred, nor was it necessary. And also, if your management team or Dr. Nivens asks us any technical advice as far as accounting principles or compliance matters, our response is not contingent on your retention as auditors for the district. There are 3 estimates, significant estimates, that are included in the financial statements. State aid, as you know, is a product of average daily attendance and property taxes, and then the state funding formula comes into play. OPEB and pension liabilities and those related items are determined at the state, and those are determined by the state's actuaries. And then finally, the allowance for doubtful accounts is based on the historical collections of your property taxes. Now, when we move into the general fund, to summarize the ending fund balance, what is available for operations? This is what is of interest to rating agencies. Your total fund balance totaled $92.6 million. But within that, you have 4 components. Non-spendable fund balance totaled $2.7 million, and that's made up of prepaid and inventories, which means that they're non-spendable because they're not convertible to cash. Committed fund balance was about $500,000, and that can only be repurposed by board resolution. And then you have assigned and unassigned fund balance at $6 million and $83.4 million, respectively. When you aggregate assigned and unassigned fund balance, you compare it to expenditures, that equates to 82 days or 23% of expenditures. And so if all revenues were to cease, your fund balance, that assigned and unassigned, would last 82 days. And also, we aggregate assigned and unassigned because TEA uses it for indicator number 6 for first rating purposes. The recommendation in fund balance in days or percentage of expenditures is 75 or 21%, which is also in line with the Texas Education Agency. So as you can see, you are well above the recommended amounts. The 32.7 is what I like to call the danger zone. You're nowhere close to that, but that would equate to 30 days or 12.5% of your general fund expenditures. Your general fund revenue totaled $408 million, and you'll see that 52% or $214 million is made up by property taxes, then followed by $158 million in state aid, or 39%. And then you have other state revenue, which is the state's recognition, or your recognition of the state's contribution to the employees' TRS pension and OPEB funds on behalf of the Lamar Consolidated ISD's employees. That equated to about $20 million. There's an offsetting expenditure. So we highlight that because we don't want anyone to think that there's $20 million in cash coming in. That is simply a recognition of what's being contributed at the state level. And then you have $6 million in federal revenue, with the bulk of that being made up of the school health and related services revenues, or SHARs. Your other local, $10 million, includes investment earnings, which is much higher than last year. If you remember, investments didn't perform very well last year. General fund expenditures, and that was for all entities, not just the district. General fund expenditures totaled $398 million. $256 million, or 64%, went towards instruction and related services. And so that is obviously the majority, and in line with 60 to 65% of what you see across the state. I also want to highlight that your general administration, the red portion of the pie, is $9 million, or 2%. We audit close to 50 school districts, if not that or more, and we see districts between 2 to 4%. So you're on that lower end compared to other school districts in the state, and especially of your size. So that is good that you keep that function 41, or general administration, on the lower side.
Can I interject something?
Yes, sir.
Because I always take the time publicly to address, floating rumors, right? And the rumor is that, Lamar CISD, we're top heavy, and we're all this money is going to, central office folks and principals, and we have all this stuff going on, right? And so our auditor just said we're operating at the lower end in general administration at 2%. And she said you've seen between 2 and 4%.
That's correct.
Right? And she audits quite a few districts, and so we're operating at the lower end. So I just want to make sure we say that, and I reiterate that, because I get screenshots of Facebook posts all the time about we're doing all these things in Brazos Crossing, and so the community and the public need to know that we are still operating at the very basic, at the base minimum. And so I just want to keep saying that we're operating at the base minimum, and this is our auditor saying this, that we just rehired just last year. And so I just want to make sure that we pay attention to that, and the folks watching the meeting and here at the meeting hear that.
Ma'am, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
About that, that is a very good number, and I've been wondering that myself. I've been meaning to send an email to Dr. Nivens, so you've prevented me from needing to do that. Does that include campus administration, or is that just district administration? That's
just district administration. The campus is instructional and school leadership in the orange portion of the pie, with that 8%.
2%, that's
Yeah.
very commendable.
That's correct. Instruction in the green, that's correct. So everything, the green, orange, and the yellow portion of the pie is all instruction or student support services. And then the rest is facilities and general administration, et cetera. So the majority of your expenditures are going towards the students or student support services. I like this graph because it shows the trajectory of your fund balance, and you'll see that you've been increasing year after year. It plateaued between 20 and 21, but that's when we started receiving the ESSER funds as well. And so now you are at $90 million in total, and assigned and unassigned. And again, because we're comparing it to indicator number 6 for first rating purposes. And then we're also looking at the trend in expenditures in relation to your fund balance. And so even though your expenditures are increasing, your fund balance is maintaining at the optimal level that TEA is wanting, at the 75 days or more. Any questions? Thank you.
May I have a motion for the board to approve the annual comprehensive financial report and the single audit report for the 2022 to 2023 fiscal year as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Great, any discussion? I now call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Can also give a special, I guess, a shout out to Ms. Ludwig and her team. We have about 12 extra days in fund balance. And so again, that's just because our CFO and her team, they do a good job in making sure they monitor the money and our budgeting process. And so this year, we're gonna even have a more rigorous budgeting process with all of our departments and our campuses to make sure that we're doing the very best we can financially and fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. But I always want to congratulate Ms. Ludwig and her team because as long as I think she's been here, she's always had a clean audit. And the auditors have always been very impressed with her and the team and their systems and their processes. And so, Ms. Ludwig, I just appreciate you and your leadership.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, trustees, next we have Mr. Nava, who's going to come with our monthly discipline report.
Good evening, President Bronzell, Board of Trustees, Dr. Nivens. Tonight, I'm going to be providing you with an update on the discipline for the month of December, as well as some totals for the fall semester. During the last meeting, we did have a brief conversation about some updates, and so the two color-coded updates have been adjusted and are now in the Student Code of Conduct on the district website. As usual, the next 3 slides are just referrals based off of our student management system, which is Skyward. We are currently, for the fall semester, at 37,431 discipline referrals. When we look at some of the major areas, in this particular chart, you'll see failure to follow rules at 3,617. You have disruptive behaviors at 1,699, and dress code violations at 1,023. This particular slide here, you'll see non-compliance at 3,663. You also have misuse of media devices at 1,204, skipping classes at 1,104, and physical confrontations at 948. Again, this third slide has a large number of tardy referrals. When we remove those tardy referrals from the system, we currently have 17,161 tardies, or about 45.8% of the discipline referrals. When removed, those numbers go down to 20,270, or about 54.1%. Here is your 6-year comparison based off of PEMS. Again, this information is based off of information that is sent to the state. Currently, for the fall semester, there were 6,032 PEMS reported offenses, about 13.4% of our population, roughly. Doesn't mean that it's that many students, it just means an average. When we look at the number of disciplinary incidences, we currently have 9,177 days of ISS or OSS that have been provided as disciplinary consequences. When you start looking at the data,
ISS was at 5,115, and OSS at 4,062. Those equate to 3,118 referrals. These are the number of recommendations for DAEP, or our alternative center, based on 6 weeks. For the first 6 weeks, we had 263 DAP recommendations. During the second 6 weeks, 274. And the third 6 weeks, 289, for a total of 826 for the fall semester. On the right-hand side, you'll see the comparative numbers from last year so that you have an idea of where we are in comparison to last year. When we identify the top 5 reasons for DAP placements, so we have vapes and e-cigarettes at 196, fights at 145, assaults at 61, misuse of electronic devices at 51, and major campus disruptions at 47. Of the 826 recommendations, the top 5 represent about 500 of those, or 60.5% of all DAEP recommendations. Here are the same top 5 recommendations by month. So you can see how e-vape cigarettes trend through the fall semester, as well as fights, assaults, major campus disruptions, and misuse of electronic devices. This information is based off of student grade levels. As you can tell, 9th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade are individual students that are leading in the total number of DAP recommendations. 9th grade at 181, 8th grade at 147, and 10th grade at 139. When we divide the 826 by elementary and secondary, 694 of those DAP recommendations are for secondary, or about 84%, and 132 are elementary students, or about 15.9% of all DAP recommendations. This information is the police notifications by colored track. Again, they are based off of the monthly reports that we receive. For the month of August, we had a total of 85 police notifications. September, we had 147. October, 124. November, 123. And December, 56. For a grand total of 535 police notifications. Now, not all notifications are specific to students. We do have some offenses that we receive police notifications on. So of the 535, 508 deal directly with students. So here you have the notifications based off of color track per semester. So as you can tell, the blue track is at 110, or 21% of the notifications. You have the gold track, 79, which is 15%, maroon track, 55, purple at 97, which is 19%. Silver track, 75 at 15%, and red at 70, or 14% of all notifications. And then just a reminder that we are going to have our second vape town hall meeting next Wednesday, January 24th at George Wright High School. And I just want to thank publicly Trustee Box for being at the one at Fulshire. So thank you very much. At this time, are there any questions regarding the discipline report?
I heard a lot about the vape town halls. I heard they were really, really good, well received.
And to say, like, publicly again for all our parents and everyone watching, that House Bill 114 went into effect on September 1st, and that legally, any student that's caught with a vape on campus has to be sent to an alternative learning center. So that's state law. State law supersedes Lamar CISD policy and procedure. So again, publicly, that's state law.
That is correct. All right, thank you.
All right, trustees, our last information item is going to be our instructional update. And so we have Ms. Marchena coming to the podium.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Dr. Nevins. I'm pleased to share with you tonight an instructional update, specifically an overview of our K-12 literacy program in Lamar CISD. Lamar CISD, we use a structured approach to literacy instruction that includes explicit systemic teaching using a gradual release model. The framework includes reading and writing workshop, which provides opportunities for students to see models of new learning, the I do portion of instruction, to practice with teacher support, the we do portion of instruction, and to practice independently, the you do portion. ELAR lessons are designed around whole group and small group instruction and include phonics or word study, reading, writing, and grammar. The instructional expectations are outlined for teachers and administrators in our Lamar CISD instructional handbook, and additional guidance is provided in the elementary ELAR handbook and through the use of roadmaps and instructional resources in each grade level's district curriculum course housed in Canvas. In the table provided on the slide, you will see the suggested daily minutes for instruction in each elementary ELAR classroom based on the components of our literacy program. Campuses create their own schedules using these suggested timeframes. We do provide sample schedules in the ELAR and SLAR Canvas curriculum courses for each grade level. At secondary, ELAR instruction looks just a little bit different. Each grade 6th through 12th grade student has an English language arts or reading class for at least one period each day. Secondary ELAR instruction focuses on incorporating listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking. Reading skills are taught through independent reading, book clubs, and the use of core instructional texts. Teachers follow a writer's workshop model that incorporates writing as a decision-making process with many lessons led by the teacher, modeling writing, offering students feedback in individual student conferences, and supporting further development of instructional skills throughout the learning process. In K-12 ELAR, we use instructional resources from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, or HMH. We also have supplemental online resources for K-2 called iRead, and for K-5 called Waggle. To cover the handwriting portion of the TEKS in elementary, we use resources from Zahner Blozer. In addition to our adopted resources, we have a number of supplemental resources. I'll go into more detail in here just a moment, but we have UFly Foundations phonics curriculum for grades K through 2. We have Hegarty lessons in K through 2 that focus on phonemic awareness. We also provide units of study in reading and writing, and the next step forward in guided reading, the next step forward in word study and phonics. Lastly, we have Scholastic Science World for grades 6 through 8, informational text, and Upfront Magazine for grades 9 through 12. All of our teachers in grades 3 through 12 and all of our students have access to Writable. And then we provide Patterns of Power for grades 1 through 12 for grammar lessons, and Patterns of Wonder for kindergarten. Finally, we have a rich ELAR district-created curriculum that has additional resources and support for teachers. Specifically detailing our writing instruction, again, we have adopted the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt instructional materials, and they link reading and writing instruction through the use of themes. K through 3 teachers also have access to the word units of study in reading and writing to support the development of foundational writing skills. And then, as I mentioned before, Writable is a supplemental resource provided for teachers and students in grades 3 through 12. Writable has rich mentor texts, writing prompts, and targeted writing lessons that can be implemented during whole group or small group instruction and during individual writing conference sessions with students. To support the development of content area literacy, we provide informational text aligned with science and social studies TEKS in each of our language arts reading ELAR instruction at every level. Students have an opportunity to read and interact with informational text during their ELAR block of instruction, but also during their other core contents: math, science, social studies, ELAR, CTE, fine arts, across the board. Teachers have access to informational text or content area literacy in STEM scope science, Studies Weekly for social studies, Scholastic Science World magazines, Scholastic Upfront magazine, in a variety of cross-curricular lessons and resources in the curriculum and through the use of content textbooks. Digging a little deeper into K-2 phonics instruction, you may or may not be aware, in 2019, the 84th legislature passed House Bill 3, requiring every school district to implement the use of a systemic phonics curriculum in K through 2. Up until this school year, we've been using units of study in phonics, but we have shifted to UFly Foundations. UFly Foundations is a new research-based phonics program that is being implemented in all of our K through 2 classrooms this school year. UFly was selected by a committee of teachers, campus instructional coaches, EB coaches, reading interventionists, and district specialists in May of 2023. UFly meets the TEA requirements for explicit systemic phonics instruction according to their rubric. Training on the UFly program was offered for teachers in the summer of 2023 and during campus professional development days as school started in August. Resources to support UFly implementation are available in the ELAR Curriculum Canvas course. Each UFly lesson is designed to take approximately 30 minutes. The UFly manual includes information to help teachers prepare their classroom and to teach students behavioral expectations and instructional routines prior to instruction. The first 10 getting ready lessons are taught during the first 2 weeks of UFly, and they introduce students to the sound wall and concepts that'll be covered in the lessons. UFly provides 128 core lessons using a grade-specific scope and sequence. The steps for each lesson include phonemic awareness, visual drills, auditory drills, blending drills, new concept introduction, word work, irregular words, and connected text. Shifting to progress monitoring. In elementary ELAR, we use the Next Step Guided Reading Assessment to gather data on how students are progressing. The GRA provides teachers in grades K through 5 with information to assist with planning lessons that meet individual student needs, including the areas of phonics and spelling, and then it helps us identify strengths and weaknesses in decoding, self-monitoring, fluency, vocabulary development, and comprehension. There are 3 testing windows for the GRA assessment: the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. In the chart, you'll see the dates for those windows for this school year. At the beginning of the year, testing your GRA is optional in kindergarten, but all students in grades 1st through 5th are given the GRA assessment. At the middle of the year, all K through 2 students are given the GRA assessment, and in 3 through 5, we only assess students using GRA if they performed below level at the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, we reassess to look for growth in K through 2, but testing is not required in 3 through 5. Those students are participating in STAR assessment and also MAP testing. When the GRA assessment is administered, each time a GRA assessment is administered, there is a whole class word knowledge inventory that takes about 20 minutes for the entire class to do that. And then there's a reading conference that happens individually with each student, and it takes approximately 12 minutes per student to administer the assessment. When we look at our data for GRA, again, we're testing at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. And so what you see on the screen is the end of the year assessment, beginning and end of the year for 22-23, and the beginning of the year data for 23-24. So if we look specifically at our kindergarten students in 2022-23, they left the school year, approximately 27% of the students were below reading level. As they started the school year as first graders, approximately 38% of them performed below level in the beginning of the year GRA. We expect a slight dip at the start of the school year with what we often term as summer slide. We do our best to address summer slide by providing opportunities for students to connect with school even when they're home for the summer.
We offer library programming. We do book giveaways to help students build their home libraries. We partner with community partners like Achieve Fort Bend. They specifically donate books for our below-level readers in first grade. And then many of our campuses provide enrichment programs or jumpstart programs prior to the start of the school year to address the summer slide. If we continue down the rows, our first grade students left last year, approximately 26% of them were below level. They started the year at 24% below level. Second grade, approximately 18 below level at the end of the year, starting out the school year with approximately 27% below level. As I mentioned before, in third grade, we test at the beginning of the year, but not all students are tested at the end of the year because of STAR. So I have included the third grade STAR data from 2023 to give us a beginning and end of the year data point. In kindergarten, we administer the text key assessment. This is a TEA required assessment that we administer at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. It's a comprehensive assessment that tests not only literacy, but language development, STEM, social emotional development, executive functioning skills, and academic motor skills. If we dig into the language and literacy data, we get information on vocabulary, letter names, spelling, listening comprehension, letter sounds, blending, and coding. In grades 1 through 10, in addition to GRA at elementary, we get data from the MAP growth assessment. That MAP growth assessment is administered at the beginning, middle, and end of the year as well. The MAP growth assessment is different in that it's an interim adaptive assessment that measures student achievement and growth in foundational skills for emerging readers, as well as in reading comprehension and vocabulary skills for our independent readers. In addition to the standardized testing, we have other ways that we're collecting data to make sure we're meeting the needs of students. Teachers specifically in grades K through 12 collect writing samples throughout the school year to create a writing portfolio for each student. Teachers monitor the growth in writing throughout the school year, and coaches and administrators facilitate calibration and collaboration conversations during the PLC process. Teachers also use quick, daily formative assessment strategies and summative classroom assessments to monitor student progress towards mastery of the TEKS. We do give a district fall benchmark and a district spring benchmark to measure mastery of the district curriculum. And then finally, STAR is administered at the end of the school year. All of the different data points that we're collecting, formatively and summatively, are used to plan lessons that meet the individual needs of students in both whole group and small group. We also use the data points to identify students who are in need of intervention. Each campus builds intervention time into their daily schedule. A list of intervention resources is available for teachers and coaches and support team members in the ELAR Canvas curriculum courses and can be accessed through each campus instructional coach. We provide intervention resources to address all of the key components of literacy development. Professional development is also critically important, as House Bill 3 from the 86th legislature laid out a requirement for Texas reading academies. All kindergarten through third grade teachers and principals must complete training based on the science of teaching reading, often referred to as STR, a vast body of scientifically based research about how proficient reading and writing develops. The goal is to increase teacher knowledge and implementation of evidence-based practices to positively impact student literacy achievement. As outlined by TEA, the Reading Academies include 60 hours of training that is facilitated by the cohort leaders in our district. Beginning this school year, in addition to the 60 hours of training, teachers are provided 4 coaching sessions with a cohort leader to support their implementation of the science of teaching reading skills. Since the launch of Reading Academies, we've trained over 1,000 teachers. You'll see there, as we started in year 1 with 122. This year we have approximately 111 teachers. This year's data, this year's teaching, the cohort group is new hires, and then we should be at a point where we're just training
our newest hires, our new people coming to LCISD each year. In addition to reading academies, campus instructional coaches provide coaching and modeling for teachers who need additional support. Campus instructional coaches gather each month for professional learning that focuses on content, coaching, and best instructional practices to build their strategy toolkit. Our district level ELAR content specialists and coordinators support teachers and instructional coaches in developing their content knowledge through various professional development sessions, coaching opportunities, and modeling in the classroom, and also during conversations and PLCs. We provide several different formal ELAR professional development opportunities throughout the year to target areas of need based on the assessment data we've gathered and through informal conversations with teachers and administrators. All teachers, coaches, and administrators are encouraged to participate in professional learning opportunities. Finally, a little bit more about the science of teaching reading. With the implementation of the Texas Reading Academies, we are making shifts to our instructional practices to better align with the science of teaching reading. The science of reading implementation training sessions were offered to teachers in the summer and in the fall prior to the start of the school year. Instructional coaches are currently participating in a book study on shifting the balance. We've added Heggerty phonemic awareness curriculum back in 2021. K through 2 teachers this year began implementing the UFly Foundation's phonics lessons. And then teachers are beginning to implement sound walls in transitioning from word walls to sound walls with the implementation of UFly. We've also created a district science of teaching reading committee that consists of teachers, campus instructional coaches, emergent bilingual coaches, reading interventionists, and the district level specialist. This committee is working on plans for future shifts to our curriculum, our resources, our assessment plans, again, to further improve our alignment with the science of teaching reading. And finally, the district Science of Teaching Reading Committee has 2 subcommittees that are focused specifically on K-2 assessments and aligning guided reading instruction to the science of reading. Once the recommendations have been made by the subcommittee, pilots will be conducted next school year before any changes are implemented district-wide. Any questions that I can help answer? Yes, ma'am.
That was a lot.
So the pilots there, you'll just run it. How does that work?
So I'll use an example. If we make a shift away from the GRA assessment to another assessment form, rather than launching district-wide, we would take a small subset of pilot campuses to step into that process before we would make a transition completely across the district. We want to make sure it's all set and strong before we launch everywhere.
Okay, and I have heard really good things about UFly. So are all of our K through 2nd grade are using UFly?
We have 3 campuses that have tiptoed in where they are not complete K-5 yet. They started with specific grade levels and are rolling up or rolling down depending on where their readiness was. So we anticipate in the fall of next year, those 3 campuses will jump
upward. That is district-wide?
District-wide, everybody else is using
So
UFly.
with the testing that they are doing, they do it at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know, are the results, are y'all seeing good results from using UFly? Like, do you think from last year compared to this year?
So we're seeing good results. We're seeing a lot of teacher interest. We're seeing phonics being taught systemically. Teachers think it's easy to implement. They feel good about what they're learning and what they're using with their students. And so I think it is making an impact. It's anecdotal at this point. We're right now in the process of collecting our mid-year data. So we'll have a better data point this middle of the year.
Okay. And then even, I guess, an even better one after the school year is complete.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
This was so much information that I've forgotten about 4 of my questions, just to let you know.
I'm sorry.
And I'm sure all the elementary teachers out there are yelling at the screen, what about this, what about that? You said that, my first thought was, are we giving teachers time to innovate? Because it seems like there's so many assessments throughout that
I'm not really sure how much of this is mandated by TEA and how much of this is mandated on the teacher by folks in this building. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So when we think about assessment, we don't give it, we hope that we're giving an assessment to guide instruction, right? There's always a purpose. So all of the minutes spent on assessment should be applicable in the way we're planning instruction, right? So when we start, we're looking at GRA. Okay, I'll go back here. So when we talk about progress monitoring, we're talking about GRA. And so we have a window of time where we're gathering that data at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. We have to have a progress monitoring point as part of the TEA requirements for MTSS. We don't have to use GRA. The decision to use GRA is ours, but we must monitor literacy development. We must monitor progress in our early literacy grade levels. And so we give that assessment, and then that guides the planning process for small group instruction, for day-to-day lessons. Teachers have a lot of autonomy then in how they're developing those lessons, how they're meeting the needs of their students, how they're using that data to guide their instruction. So the day-to-day is a lot of opportunity for innovation. And then, other assessments that we have to give, we choose to give, we have to give TXGIA, again, TA requirement for kindergarten, again, to measure that early literacy screening piece. And then we use MAP growth at the beginning and middle and end of the year to measure data and growth over time. It's an adaptive assessment, so it's a little bit different than any other data that the teachers are getting because it will adapt to where that child is, regardless of if they're way below grade level or way above grade level. So it's going to give a much broader sense of data that, again, teachers can use to plan instruction, can use to plan intervention, and this is a really great tool for providing that enrichment opportunity and that extension opportunity because it's going to push a child as they test up beyond grade level if that's where they're at. So this gives us data that the other assessments don't give. So the innovation really comes in the day-to-day instruction piece. Using this data to put it all together like a recipe to figure out what's going to best meet the needs of those students as they develop their literacy skills.
I'll ask just one more and I'll give the microphone to somebody else. One of the stats you had up there was 14% are not reading on STAR level on the third grade.
Yes, at the beginning of the school year.
What are we doing about that?
So that's the group that's getting intensive interventions. So
are these students that do not speak English as their first language, or are there any kind of characteristics like that might play into?
Not necessarily. These are representative across different populations, different ethnicities, different opportunities across all campuses in the district, right? So again, you've got to dig deep because the group is not all needing the same thing, but they're all getting intervention based on the needs that they have. So when we get data back from STAR, we see specific objectives that they haven't mastered. And so those are the places where they're getting accelerated instruction as they're being supported in this next grade level. If they've moved on to fourth grade or if they're staying in third grade, they're getting intervention. Some of them may be students who are being served by the special education department through an IEP. And then some of them may be students who are in a general education setting but are getting supports through intervention and our MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. Again, that's monitoring and intervening.
So that bottom chart with this grade reading and STAR level, the percentages I don't understand. How it says we have 86% that approaches the level where they want to be.
So if they're at masters, they've approached, they've met, and they've mastered. Yeah.
It's kind of
misleading.
Yeah.
Understand.
It's like 200%.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it's reported.
And then so what is the extent that you would say that the kids in our reading programs are reading on grade level? I mean, is this chart is following these kindergartners through?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious, and I know you probably don't have the numbers right here, but to what extent in LCISD are our students reading on grade level? For grade kindergarten, for first, second, third, fourth, really K through 8th, because once you get to really, once you leave, what is it, they say second grade? If you're not
Right.
on grade level, then you're just going to continue to struggle. So I think it's really important that we focus on K through 12, K through 2, because that's where you really build the basics and the foundation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is.
So it varies by cohort group. You can see just the range in data with the on-level students. When you look at TEA's reporting, meets is considered meeting grade level expectation. So if you looked at the on-level data and the meets and masters data for STAR, that would be comparative.
So we have 63% reading on grade level.
In this cohort group.
I'm interested to see our numbers next year with the programs that y'all have implemented.
I agree.
So you said, and I kind of talked to you a little bit earlier, the UFly is new to the district.
Yes, ma'am.
Something that y'all researched, but it's not in all schools or not being fully used in all schools. Right?
We have 3 campuses that, again, have kind of tiptoed in. They didn't feel like their teachers were 100% ready, and they had another phonics program in place. Some of them are using really great reading. Some of them are using the next steps in phonics, and so they were. They started with specific grade levels, and then but those teachers have heard great things, and so they're ready to make that transition.
And I said to you, I would love to see the program, and I'd like to see the program in action, and I understand the difference between a sound wall and a word wall, which I like, which is kind of what I did. But is it a whole group instruction when they're doing the phonics, or is that in smalls group instruction? Or is that something like their first of the day getting started to read?
I'm going to turn to Teresa. Most of the instruction in UFly is whole group, but I'll let her address that. Teresa Gage is our elementary ELAR coordinator.
Good evening. So the UFly Foundation's phonics instruction is whole group instruction, but they also give guidance to teachers on how they can take that to small group for those students who need it. And then we also provide additional resources for teachers to help those students that are not getting it whole group. So there are those formative assessments that teachers do as they're teaching, identify which kids are not progressing the way they should through those phonics lessons. They also use some of the data through the assessments to determine that, and then they do some small group reading instruction for those specific needs.
And are the parents aware of this program? Because I know that when we were doing certain phonics programs, when we allowed the parents to see it, they used some of the skills and some of the lingo, some of the words we used at home.
Well, UFly actually provides home connection resources and activities. So campuses send those home so that parents can do some of those activities that will reinforce what's being taught in the classroom.
Good, thank you.
Yes. I'm the parent of a kindergartner, and I see those lessons come home every week.
I have another question. When teachers do the GRAs, how long does that take them? Like days?
It just depends, right? So you're looking at the whole word inventory. That's going to take about 20 minutes. But if you're talking 12 minutes per student, some campuses will provide time where students are shifted to another classroom and they do a series of testing all day long until they get through it. And some will take time throughout the week to do it. They'll set aside time. Some of them will do it during their intervention block. But they do little individual reading conferences to get that data.
And how often do they do that?
That's where.
Is that the same? Is that the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So this slide here, again, we don't test our kindergartners at the beginning of the year unless they're already showing that they're reading. So it's optional in kinder. All first and second graders, and then all third through fifth graders are being tested at the beginning. Middle, all K through 2. 3 through 5, only if they were below level or they're new coming in and we need to get some additional data. And at the end of the year, we're focused in on K through 2.
Do they do any of this kind of assessment 6th through 8th grade, or no?
They do different assessment. Most of our kiddos have reached a level where they're reading by the time they hit secondary, but if they're not, then we do additional testing. And so for kiddos who are not meeting STAR expectations, for example, in 6th grade, there's an additional literacy screener in 7th grade to test for dyslexia and other foundational skill gaps. And then students who are not reading on level, are getting additional opportunities through intervention assessment. So how are we gathering that data to make sure they're getting it?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Any items on the future consent items agenda that trustees would like to pull for discussion at the February board meeting? Nope. Okay, it is 8:56 PM and we're adjourning to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act to discuss personnel, land acquisition, or consultation with our attorney. We are now back in open session. It is 9:25 PM and we have a quorum. Are there any motions to be made?
Yes, I have one. I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees approve the hiring personnel as presented. Positions include Assistant Principal at Fulshire High School and Director of Advanced Academics and Career Readiness.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No? Okay, motion is approved. Are there any other motions?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the sale of a portion of land at Terrell Elementary to the North Fort Bend Water Authority.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Oh,
Aye.
Which one were you recognizing as the second?
okay, Suzanne. Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a, wait, any no's? Okay, motion passes. Are there any other motions to be made?
Yeah, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the sale of land at Transportation Site Number 3 to TxDOT.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who seconded? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any against? Joe. Joe said yes, okay.
You recognize Joe as the second?
I recognize Joe as the second. I'm sorry, I'm not. Motion passes. Are there any other motions?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to reconsider a vote on 10A. I'd like to add Andy Boswell and Deborah Clucky to the ABC for Terrell Elementary.
Okay, do we have a second? Ms. Box makes a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone against? No, motion passes. No other motions to be made, are there? No? Okay, this meeting is, oh, I'm sorry. Are there any future agenda items the board would like to add? Nope. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. It is, nope. Sorry, go ahead, sorry.
Can I make a little announcement real quick?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Some of you know I'm a director of the Gulf Coast Area Association of School Boards. Our next meeting, and I think Barbara usually gets notice of that, and you can tell her if you'd like to go. It's February 7th at 6:30. It's in Humble ISD, but they are going to begin, it's going to be a grassroots meeting, which is the meetings that they start taking around Texas to say what we want to talk about at the next legislative session. So if you're interested in getting in on that, that's a good meeting to go to. And the Superintendent of the Year, Dr. Martha Salazar Zamora, is going to be there to share a few words with us. And it is a dinner meeting, and I know it's kind of far, but the last meeting is going to be in Katy. So anyway, if anyone is interested, or if, Barbara, you get that information, if you would send it out to the board if anyone wants to go.
Thank you. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. It is 10:28 PM.
9:28.